So if there's one, again, another takeaway that if I got your attention on the rules, the other one is never, ever, ever lie, okay? There's no such thing as a little lie. A little lie becomes a huge problem. You certainly don't lie in that letter that you're going there, you know? You say candidly, or you don't remember or whatever, but you don't lie. You know, Abraham Lincoln, no man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar, okay? So, very, very important to always be candid. I'm a pride guy. I tell people, I'm probably not the smartest attorney in the world. I'm probably not the smartest person in this room. I really look up to you and respect you guys. I'm like a person who did it later in life. But I can tell you one thing, I am a solid worker and I have a proud work ethic. Nobody can make me fearful enough that I'm going to lie because I'm afraid of you. So whether it's pride or whether it's the right thing to do, it's certainly the smart thing to do is to never ever lie. That might come up tomorrow. Angelo, yeah, Mrs. Swanson's on the phone. Oh, what's she want? Who is she? She's a client. Okay, that's not a good thing. You don't know who she is and she's a client. Okay, well, I'm going to show you that's not a real, it's a hypothetical. Okay, we're going to show you how to work on that. But Mrs. Swanson said, you indicated to her that you were going to have that divorce complaint filed and she wants to know, you know, is everything okay? I remember one time, now this is actually shows Mrs. Swanson, I remember one time that I actually put somebody on hold, got in my car, drove up the street to the Lawrence County Courthouse and filed that complaint that I forgot that was still laying on my desk before I would pick up that phone and say, yes, I filed it, and it was a lie. I made sure she waited until I could answer the question truthfully. That's how important it is never to lie. Because I actually have personal experience with an attorney in our county who actually said once upon a time he took a case on a contingent fee. We'll go into that. We're still in the ornament phase right now. He took a case on a contingent fee. Contingent fee we'll talk about. But he took a case and the guy called him about 8 or 9 months later. How's it going? Oh, it's great. We're in there slugging, you know. And another year later, how's it going? Oh, we're negotiating. Another year later, oh, it's settled. Okay, he had never filed anything, not even a writ of summons, and the case was time barred. It was over. He literally went and borrowed $10,000 and sent the guy $10,000 and said, "This is what we settled for." The case probably wasn't even worth $10,000, and eventually he never practiced law again. As well, you know, that's somebody. That's not the disciplinary board heavy-handed. That's a dangerous human being in what we do, and they shouldn't practice law. But that goes to show you how that lie led to another lie and led to another lie, and he doesn't work anymore. So, okay, I'm still up here just picking stuff out of the box, and we're going to connect it later to go into the substantive details. Time-wise, let me check my watch here. Good. Okay, now we're going to go a little further in depth in 1.5, the fee issue. Okay, everybody in here knows that you're not allowed to represent somebody without what? Thank you. A written fee agreement, right? The law does not require them to sign it, though. But, come on, make them sign it. Gee, you put all that time into drafting a fee agreement. By the way, my fee agreement is something like 29 pages. It started out at 2, I think. The 27 other pages are all the things that were done to me as a person by clients over the years, okay? Or weird things that have come up. So maybe, again, in this creative journey we're on here until when we break and we're done, that'll give you some good ideas. The fee rule says, a lawyer shall not, now let's pay attention to the verbs here, enter into an agreement. So that means you're already violating an ethical rule if you have a fee agreement that violates this, okay? Just entering it is a violation. For, comma, another verb, charge or collect. So even if I say, look, the lady never paid me anyway, but if you charge an outrageous amount of money or something like that, that's still an ethical violation. An illegal, and now this is where the or is, or clearly excessive fee. Now they seem to separate illegal and clearly excessive with an or. And what do? We're wordsmiths sometimes, right? I hate that part of practice. Anybody hate that kind of law as much as I do? Does anybody in here hate regulations like the tax code? Sub-I. Remember, Duquesne people, I saw your hands up. Remember Professor Fis? Commercial paper? If ever I came close to quitting law school, that was the semester, okay? And it wasn't him. He actually did a good job when I look back at how he taught it. But sub-I, double I, triple I, modified by paragraph R. And again, going into the areas of practicing law, turn signal, okay? I'm going a little bit afield here. The tax law. I'm not a tax lawyer, nor will I ever be a tax lawyer. I don't want to be a tax lawyer. I'm also not a bankruptcy attorney. Anybody in here do bankruptcies? Ever do them? Wow. That's kind of crazy, okay? The bankruptcy law. Again, I got to tell you this only because hopefully it'll burn in your brain. I'm a practitioner. I am in Newcastle. Lots of people know me, and lots of people know my family. So they come to me because they know me or know my family, not because I do a certain area of law. And we're going to show you how you're allowed to accept areas of law that you don't even do, but there is a diligence requirement. We'll get into that. But I had a situation where I had a young man in a restaurant. I represented him as a plaintiff. It was a tragic case. His dad got killed. He got a lot of money, and he just had turned 22, 23-ish or something. Just a wonderful family. And he was a really sharp kid and a nice kid, but he was so naive. He became a partner with somebody in a restaurant in Pittsburgh. And I'll never forget going to, it was in downtown Pittsburgh in Motion Court. That was a real experience for me, by the way, in Motion Court in Pittsburgh, in Allegheny County. Judge Wettig, right? I love Judge Wettig's Motion Court. When every once in a while he'll come out and say, if you'll notice, I took the bench 15 minutes after motion court started. In those 15 minutes, you better have talked to the other attorney and settled stupid stuff before you come up here. Okay, I think there's a great deal of wisdom in that too. And he was a very fair man, brilliant man. We know he was a brilliant man. But in this one case in motion court, it was in front of Judge McGowan. And again, this is on tape here, but Judge McGowan, they line up in Allegheny County. They still do that where you line up if you have an uncontested motion. Uncontested means there's nobody here, by the way. Wow, that puts a little bit of pressure on you. So all these uncontested people lined up, and I'm watching them go through, and oh, boy, they move this thing pretty fast. And some guy came up about 10 minutes after we were into contested motions. Your Honor, I just had a problem parking my car. I'm here to oppose a motion. And the other attorney didn't leave yet, and they walked up, and he said, Your Honor, you signed an order. He wasn't here when he was supposed to be. And Judge McGowan says, let me see that order. And Judge McGowan took his motion, and he went, he wrinkled up that order, and he bounced it off of his chest and said, I just unsigned it. Because he wasn't going to elevate a technical rule over substance like that. But that was my welcome to Allegheny County Motion Court. But anyway, bankruptcy. So we're in front of this judge, and he says, Mr. Pape, he says, I have something for you. I'm presenting my injunction petition for this young man. And the judge says, Mr. Pape, the next time somebody comes to your office and wants to make $1 million in the restaurant business, you tell them, you give them my name, that this is the advice I have for them. Put $5 million into it. Every restaurant that ever comes in here is losing money, and there's 1 million of them, and your client is on the receiving end of that. Long story longer, we eventually got a judgment. The guy never showed up. Default, right? I got a default, and then I actually scheduled a hearing on the damage issues, right? You civil lawyers. And I showed up, and nobody was there again. That was the greatest day I ever had in court. I put in evidence whatever I wanted. And wow, I'm thinking really smart. And I'm thinking, man, I'm going to go for the gusto here. So I put this evidence in. I get the judgment. I have all kinds of figures. It turns out to $400,000 some dollars. And I think, okay, I'm going to be really smart now. And by the way, the only reason you met with this guy, why? And I got enough paragraphs and statements out of him to establish what? Fraud, right? Why would I want fraud in my judgment? And lastly, and when I'm in Allegheny County, I always walk in with just a caption with a whole bunch of double-spaced blank lines, because they do a lot of that there where they actually have you write the order. And I can't tell you how many cases have gone back up on issues about whether that word meant that or not, and you're writing it quickly. So when I make my proposed order, even though you put lines across in your Word document, I always double space them so that when people write big, you can clearly see it. So anyway, are we good, Dante?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So everything goes away. We're dead. The client thinks I'm a genius. It's very cool. And it was cool. This is 6 months later. I get a notice from some attorney that this guy files bankruptcy. Whoa, I knew it. I saw that coming. So he has a meeting of creditors in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. This is something that was foreign to me. And I showed up at the meeting of creditors. Number one, his attorney didn't show up, nor did he show up. I asked that the case be dismissed, and it wasn't dismissed. And I don't think those of you who had bankruptcy, I know that I don't have any bankruptcy attorneys in here, but I guess they routinely reschedule them. So the rescheduling took place for October. Now in bankruptcy court, they have a lot of cut and paste orders, a lot of small, by the way, type and whatnot. And you got to read them carefully. So the rescheduled order had all the deadlines in there like an order would have in there, including what's the bankruptcy court, when you have a complaint that's above and beyond the amount you're due, what's that called? Is that an ancillary complaint? Like an extra count or something like that? I'm not so sure I got that term right. All I know is that it gave you 90 days from that order to file that. Okay? Very important. So we file our count for fraud to set aside bankruptcy well within the 90 days. The original order gave us 90 days, but that had obviously expired. We're into October. I went to bankruptcy court because I was summoned because there was a petition to dismiss my complaint as time barred because I didn't make the original deadline. And I went there and I said, Your Honor, this is really outrageous. I can't believe that I even try something like this. I had my cocky attitude on that day. You always get humbled when you do that. The judge had somebody sitting next to us in court with a suit on. I knew he wasn't an attorney, but I knew he looked so he called him as a witness. Said, "Sir, what's your name?" "I'm a prothonotary for the bankruptcy court and so many district court and blah, 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 Pennsylvania. How long have you been doing that? Been doing this, blah, blah. And what do you do in your normal course of your business?" "I issue these orders, and this is an order you issued, right?" "Is that an order you issued?" "Yes." "They're both on there. They both have two different deadline dates, do they not?" "Yes, they do." "Did I ever give you permission to issue that order?" "No." "Did you ever call me and ask for permission to issue that order?" "No." Regulations sub 52, page 19, double RI, triple I, and all that says that only a bankruptcy court has the power to do that. And so otherwise, an order of court should have been followed. The first one, he stricken the complaint. Now I got a client who's that brilliant job I did for him who could possibly sue me for the $400,000 that's no longer properly before the court. How crazy of a turn of events is that? And again, I just sat him down. And remember we talked about hitting things head on? We have this thing. We have posters in our office of the Titanic. The Titanic, my daughter wrote a really neat, she almost did a doctorate dissertation on undergraduate. She couldn't have got a doctorate degree. It's amazing the work she put in it. But it dealt with metallurgy, which probably would not be consistent with what I'm about to tell you. But aside from the metallurgy, aside from the brittle metal back then in those years, it is assumed by most experts that if the Titanic had not veered, right? As the Titanic, the largest moving man-made object on the face of this God's earth, the largest moving thing that's ever been on the face of the earth, had it not tried to avoid that iceberg, it would not have ripped 7 compartments, and they flooded one at a time and lifted the back end out of the water of the boat and snapped in half, and it was over in an hour and a half. Something that was basically unsinkable. And my point is with my young attorneys and people that we tell them that you don't avoid contact. You hit the thing head on. I had him in my office and I went down through all the ways he could sue me. I basically sat him down and said, right now you could say, I'm a dummy, fire me, sue me. I even gave him attorneys' names and whatnot. I put it all in writing, by the way. And when it was over, he did not sue me. He said, you did a wonderful job. I know I wouldn't have anything. This guy's a real jerk, blah, 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 blah. I think I paid $1,500 for him to hire a bankruptcy attorney in Pittsburgh, and I think it was Attorney Lample. He does a lot of bankruptcies down there. A nice man, too. And Attorney Lample took him aside and says, listen, even if you would not have got anything off of this guy, okay, because there's no way if this case is called tomorrow, this guy has anything. He's in Florida, he's there, and I lost maybe $1,500, but what did I do? I protected what? My livelihood. You know what? I could have said, oh my God, this is a tragedy. The judge should not have done that. It was illegal. We should appeal it and go on and on and on. We'll go into frivolous claims. But again, this is one of the things I'm trying to explain to you. These are the kind of things that make you hate your job when you're thinking about that all day long, about who might sue you or who might hurt you. It is much better to get it over with. Because if they sue you and they get a judgment, I'll work my butt off. I have a solid work ethic. My parents didn't leave us any money. But my parents left us a work ethic. And I have found in this profession, if I have a work ethic, I soar beyond everybody. The one neat thing about this bar exam and the disciplinary board weeding them out once in a while and very few people getting into law school, you know one of the good things about it? Your competition is limited, okay? I'm telling you, if you're a hard worker and you're an honest person, there are people out there who will eventually find out that's who you are. Doesn't mean you win all the time. It means you're in the game all the time and you do a good, honest day's work. And you're going to have lots of clients. And you're going to feel good about yourself when you go home. Because you know, I tell clients all the time, I can't guarantee you I'll win. I can guarantee you I can just about guarantee you if I can't win, nobody else could though, either. I'm going to give you your best shot. You're going to have your day in court, and that's anyone's guess where that's going to go. But your case is going to be heard, and I'm going to passionately deliver your argument. Because I'm telling you right now, because if I don't passionately believe in what you're doing, I'm not going to represent you. Because it all starts back with this fee thing here and that written contract, right? We have the right to turn anybody down. You can smell them coming sometimes. You get some mean person in your office. By the way, you're my third attorney. Okay, red flag, right? And my other attorney didn't do this and he didn't do that and she did this and she's lousy and she lied to me and she, it goes on and on and on and on. You'll be worried that, that person, that's possible, but it's also possible that they don't get along with anybody. I tell my clients right away that the first thing I'm going to do when I go to court and we meet our opponent, I'm going to walk across the hallway and reach out my hand and shake that person's hand. And I do. And I say, counselor, it's good to meet you. I'm not a gotcha attorney. I'm a person who's here to play the case on its merits. I tell the client always, somebody asks for a continuance or an extension of time to file something, I already agree. Send me a letter. The rules of civil procedure require us to have it in writing. Send me a letter. I'm not drafting your letter for you. You make the letter, I'll sign off on it. But I'll agree. And if you need an attorney who's going to judge in their face all the time and somebody that says, I'll fight for you. I'm not going to fight for you. I'm going to argue the case. I'm not going to fight for you. I'm not going to roll up my sleeves and fight for you. I think a lot of the time we do a disservice to what we do for a living because you do your best job when you settle a case, not when you fight for them, okay? So going back to that issue, I shake hands with the attorney and I tell him that we can disagree without being disagreeable, okay? This profession, sometimes, I watch you people come in the door here. I'm telling you, nobody wanted to get out of bed, stay in bed more than I did this morning. I mean, for me to be in character like this, it's not just an act, okay? I am so into what I do and so into how necessary it is. You know why I take all these CLE classes? I take these CLE classes mostly and present them because I'm 32 years old, starting law school. I get out at age 36, and I didn't have, some of you have been lawyers since you were 26 years old or whatever. I didn't have that. And I was so proud to be a lawyer that when I graduated, and Al Lindsay teaches CLE classes with me, he doesn't allow anyone to tell lawyer jokes in his office. Now, he's a very jovial person. We tell jokes left and right. But his message is not that I don't have a sense of humor, but there's too much bashing of lawyers going on. There's too much bashing of all professionals that's going on. And you know why it happens? Because we bash each other sometimes. because somebody said something bad about you, somebody's in your office, and you want to say something critical about, oh, this pleading's a joke. Nothing's a joke. I don't care. If it survives summary judgment, it's certainly not a joke. Okay? And I see people come in and out of this door, and one of the things I'm going to constantly come back to you on is that I am so proud to be an attorney, and you should be so proud to be an attorney. I think for you to passionately deliver an argument starts with you being proud of who you are and what you do. And remember now, all these TV shows, the lawyer shows are still very, very popular. Everybody wants to be a lawyer. Whatever profession can you have that nobody can shut you up, including me right now? My wife says I keep an inflatable podium in the trunk of my car because I'll blow it up and make a speech in seconds. And, but it's what we do. It's the only voice they have. Now, I'm going to take another turn signal here. Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me? Okay. If you guys get hot, I think it quieted down out there. Maybe we should consider opening one of those doors again, because I think it's getting hot in here. So that's your call. Okay. Anyway, fees, right? Okay. So we know that a clearly excessive fee is illegal, or there are illegal fees. An example of an illegal fee, a contingent fee on a divorce case, 70% of the marital estate. That's what I'm going to charge. That's illegal, okay? And those are his elementary examples, okay? Now, clearly excessive, though. The rule helps you here. It says, one, whether the fee is fixed or contingent. Are there any contingent fee lawyers in here? Defense or either way, okay? Contingent fee, the first thing I have to ask you, you have a fee agreement, I'm assuming, right? Okay. We had this come up in our class yesterday. Contingent fee, now, I don't do it too often. But one time I remember I was on a ski slope. I was practicing law for 6 months. I had a phone call from somebody. They connected me, and I remember seeing this lady's name in the paper. 3 letters later, 6 weeks later, I made $80,000. That's a nice phone call, right? So I said, gee, I want to do more of that. That's contingent fee. But the theory is contingent fees are proper, 40% or 33 1/3 seems to be the rule. Although coming down the highway here on the way to this class, I saw a billboard. It says, we got your back, not your wallet. 25% or something. There's a big billboard right on the highway out here. Did you see it, Bruce, this morning? I was half asleep too. I said, whoa, we got your back, not your wallet.
Minor contingent cases are always 25%.
Okay. If you sense that they're a slam dunk, basically.
No. Oh, no, I mean, the court regulates minors.
Oh, I'm sorry. Minors, you mean like minor meaning underage?
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that little caveat, because we know that if you're representing a child, like my child, now the bankruptcy example, when he got that case, he would have had to go before the court, the attorney, and get the fee approved no matter what it was. Because the fee needs to be approved, and the court doesn't want this person's money to be squandered or whatnot. Okay. But back to my original question, because we're on fee agreements, up front, first of all, fees need to be identified as being separate from your costs. Costs are what you pay to a third party. Maybe you're paying for them, but you're not, An expert opinion is the most important example. An expert opinion, I think, in any case is going to charge you at least $750 for some kind of report. $1,500 now? $2,500? Okay, $2,500 for the report. Of course, you're going to eventually need that person to testify. So that person might move to a different part of the world or be killed or something. That's a very key witness. So you should preserve that testimony, right? And by the way, when you do those depositions, there are rules. That's not the subject of this class, where you put everybody on notice that it's for trial too. I would always, every time I take deposition, I say it's for trial also. I let them fight with me about that. So that if I get stuck and this guy disappears, or he has a memory problem, or if God forbid he dies or something like that, I have something I can introduce. So again, now we have that, and we're talking probably about $5,000 now, right? And the court reporter and the transcript. So my $9 million question, that $7,500, is that paid by you up front in your fee agreement? You don't need to answer that, by the way. That's an issue. In the very small time I had in that business, I'm not in that business anymore, I refer cases out. When I'm in that business, I always made sure that my fee agreement said they are borne by the client up front and timely paid. And if this is breached, there's several breaches in my fee agreement that give me the right to withdraw my representation. Now, there's a whole bunch of issues that are important for this class in what I just said. Number one, upfront and timely paid. Now, I know yours probably says borne by the client, but not necessarily upfront. So you might want to consider throwing that little word in there. You can let somebody go if you want to, and excuse that, but I don't think you should be forcing. We all know that a case can bankrupt you, right? That's why they allow you to do a 40% fee or 33 and the third percent, because 2 or 3 of those cases, and without that balance, you're out of business and you're in bankruptcy. So I strongly suggest that you always keep the option. You can be benevolent if you want to, but unless otherwise written, upfront and timely paid by the client, or I have a ability to withdraw. Okay, now let's go there. What happens if you withdraw or they fire you before you settle the case? Generally, it's distinctly possible that you get paid nothing, right? Now we know, in this book, you know, if you don't know today, you know that you can lodge a claim on quantum merit for the value of your services, okay? For the value of your services if you were terminated. And we know that if somebody's about to get a $300,000 settlement and he's going to spend it in 10 days, we also know that we can protect that claim by what? Charging lien? Okay? Everybody, charging lien. Write that down too. Charging lien. You get fired or they fire you. They're very easy to file. There's no real law on where you file them, so I think the best thing to do would be to file it with the judge assigned to that case immediately, because the judge does have the power to take that and have a hearing, issue a rule on somebody, and do some pleadings, and basically that judge knows more than anybody what you did in this case. And that judge is going to be, he also has the power to impound all of the money or enough money for you to get paid. See, these are the kind of things that you have to be on top of your game, because there's nothing more discouraging than watching it happen. And again, personal story, right? I'm a brand new lawyer. I'm age 32. I could tell you guys, you know who I'm talking about. Bruce Gellix is my paralegal, and Dante Ludovisi has filmed for me forever. He's a member of the Cinematographers Guild, very prestigious presenters, by the way, but they've been through life with me in this little journey. They were with me when I was a teacher, and now they're with me as a lawyer. And you know this case. I had a case once where I had a person who building burned down in Venango County. Franklin, anybody ever been there? You know there's lots of precious architecture there. It's amazing. You know, all these, Titusville, right? The oil industry. That's where all that came from. And so the building burns down. So this lady, I shouldn't say that. This person, I'm starting to say so many facts you could figure out who it was, right? I'm trusting you to edit this a little bit, okay? Thank you. So I don't get disbarred. Okay. This person, okay? The building burns down. We sue because of a $300,000 policy. Anybody know Richard DeBella? He's an attorney in Pittsburgh. Richard does a lot of insurance work. Nice man to work with. Very good advocate, though. And you got to be on your game, because he's gonna bring the best and play that. But we show up in court, and I've never filed a complaint before. It was one of my first complaints. I'm 36 years old. I drafted a really nice complaint. I sue them because there's $300,000 in property casualty insurance. Was that something that would be a contingent fee case too? Sure. Okay, thank you. So I was a contingent fee case, okay? I didn't have any of those things in my representation. None of what I've been telling you to do was in there. That's why I know to say it now, okay? So we show up in downtown Pittsburgh. It went really fast, and we're in front of Judge Silvestri. I don't know, he's obviously long since gone, but I see a nod of your head there that you remember Judge Silvestri. He was a very no-nonsense, get-to-the-point judge. Yeah. And anyway, so we're in chambers, and we picked the jury. The jury is sitting out there. They're actually sitting in the box waiting for us. We're talking about the case. He says, Mr. DeBella, what's this all about? And he says, well, I don't know what it's all about, Your Honor. We're here for frivolous reasons. We're going to talk about frivolous later. But we're here for frivolous reasons. This guy, Mr. Papa, and his client, for some reason, this is outrageous. The house burned down. His client and her husband went to prison for 1.5 years for insurance fraud. They said there were 80 refrigerators, 80 brand new refrigerators or something on the 3rd floor of the place, and that's part of their claim. Is that right, Mr. Papa? Yes, Your Honor, but, okay, you have to get them before they form their mind, right? It's amazing how you have to try to keep them from turning into cement on what he just said. You have to do it quickly. The cement's going to dry. You have to move quick. Says, Your Honor, what he's talking about is collateral estoppel. He's talking about res judicata. Collateral estoppel is a cousin of res judicata. Again, you're going all the way back to law school. Remember, I'm the guy who hand wrote my own briefs out. That's how this stuff is still in my head. So I said, not only that, he has the burden of proof. And he looked at me, I said, you're the plaintiff. I said, I understand that, Your Honor, but there's no controversy over an insurance policy that was in place. It's fully binding. The burden has now shifted. See, oh man, I'm the one, I brought my A game that day, right? The burden has now shifted to them to show why this contract shouldn't dispose of this right now. And we all go home, cut the check, bad faith, and whatever else is going on. And I said, because the burden is on him now, he's trying to use a prior adjudication to resolve this case, which means there is a heightened degree of analysis on how identical the prior adjudication needs to be on what the issue is for today. And I said, and I'm ready now, the drum roll. The fraud he's talking about vitiates the policy on its inception, not the claim for the damages. The policy is still in full force effect. That does not resolve that issue. It may hurt me in front of the jury, but that does not. Just well thought. And immediately my mind is going to my cousin Vinny, right? Judge Chamberlain Haller. What was the guy's name? He was in the Addams Family. He was Munsters. Okay. Fred Gwynn. Anyway, he says, well thought, Mr. Gambini. Cogent legal argument. And I'm like, fixing my lapel. I'm on today, right? So he says, Mr. DeBella, that's a pretty powerful argument too. He says, Mr. DeBella, did you file a motion for summary judgment? Well, no, Your Honor. We're here for the jury trial. And of course, what do we know about summary judgment, right? There's a whole rule for that in civil procedure. The rule is you file one. And I have 30 days to file a response, including factual allegations, and all that collateral estoppel stuff would certainly be in there, and we would have an orderly administration of justice. The judge says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into court, and Mr. DeBella, you're going to stand up, and you're going to orally move the court for summary judgment. And I'm going to grant that summary judgment. And then Mr. Papa is going to appeal this to the Superior Court, who get paid a whole lot more than me, and they're a lot smarter than me. And if he's right, it'll come back and we'll do it right. My client's in the hallway now. Remember now, think about this as a trial attorney. My client's in the hallway, and she's not too patient with lawyers as it is. And I go in and we sit down, and all that happened in about 5 minutes, and we were out in the hall, and we were done. And she said, so what happened? Are they going to send us a check? Or what's happened? What was that all about? I said, they dismissed the case. Of course, her confidence in me went out the window. 6 months later, she hires another attorney from Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh attorneys would certainly be smarter than somebody from Newcastle, right? And whatever, no offense. And the Pittsburgh attorney, 2 or 3 years later, got paid $450,000 or something. I got paid nothing. And I put all that work into that thing, actually getting it ready for a jury trial. All because I didn't have any of those things in this fee agreement here, okay? So we just told you how you can skip a tragedy like that. And those are real life things that have happened. Okay, so now going back to the fee issue, let me take my watch here, 9:20, right? Okay. Now the second way we determine whether a fee is excessive, and this will relate very well to what we're going to have the doctors present to you after in the second half. Doc, most of these people are going to be here for the second half too. Good. Okay. The time, and Doc Joe, I saw you back there too. I didn't see you. You're going to maybe take the bar when this is over, huh?
I don't think so.
A different bar. Okay. The time and labor required, okay? Boy, that starts to click for us, right? These rules are your friends, too. The novelty and difficulty of the questions involved, okay? I don't even want to tell you about the barrels of paper we have in our office. My son decided to take on a gas company on a fracking case in front of a zoning hearing board. Wow. Did that take off, okay? Certainly, the skill requisite to perform the legal service properly, the likelihood, if apparent to the client, that the acceptance of the particular employment will preclude other employment by a lawyer. Okay? See, all these things go into whether or not your fee is clearly excessive. I was in Philadelphia teaching this course about a week or 10 days ago, and I asked people this question, and some of them told me that the hourly rate over there is as high as $750 an hour. Wow. Yeah. I bill at $275, and I have done that for years. I'm a 35-year attorney. I think that's probably low. In Pittsburgh, what's a fair rate for a seasoned, experienced lawyer? Anybody?
Maybe 500, 600.
500 or 600?
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, I am telling you, if you know you're worth 500 or 600, charge 500 or 600 after, of course, you tell the client. I tell the clients all the time, listen, you can buy somebody cheaper down the street. There's people out there who do anything. But if you want me, and they usually do, they want somebody who's going to do it right. The things I'm sensing when people don't charge enough is sometimes they realize they're not going to do anything. So I'm not so sure that's a good concept. So if you're going to work, as we are going to go over how you do this job correctly, then 500 or 600 should be charged. Now, you don't have to collect it all, okay? You can give them a break that way, and we'll show you how. But at the same time, if somebody ever challenges you in a fee dispute committee, it's a lot easier to add that up than it is to add up $275 or $150 an hour, because I said that's what I was going to do. If that's what you're worth, and again, these are very enlightening. It's Rule 1.5, and there's 7 or 8 things there that will tell you what is clearly excessive. And so, now, we also know that when you open a file, you guys know that you should be charging for stuff that's not even time related. At the back of the book, I have created a list of hot words that you could Google or do in the old Veils type of research and whatnot. But it's on page 103. There's like about 120 of them. They're little phrases that'll help you. And Benny Hill has a lady that is visible to the camera. She is upset. She's sobbing. It's all silent. There's no words. And she's crying, and she's getting more and more calm, though. She's starting to settle down. And behind her is a clock, and it's at 10:30, and it's now going on 11 o'clock, 12:15, and she finally settles down, and she's blowing him kisses and thanking him and leaves. And about 2 minutes later, you see him go like this, and he had painted eyeballs on his eyelids, okay? And the hands that he was leaning on were bolted to the table. They were plastic. And he had been leaning his chin in there and say, I am telling you, a lot of you, I've done it myself in earlier times, I'm not proud of, you just let them talk, right? And you're not paying one thing attention to them, because this is their free consultation, okay? So we don't do it that way, and I'm going to show you why it's important not to do it that way. We give a client 2-3 hours if necessary. Now, we do control the conversation. You know, they want to tell you everything. Kind of like my wife telling a story. If you ask my wife to tell you a story, turn signal, by the way, little caveat. If you ask my wife to tell a story, I want you to envision an ant standing at the bottom of a sequoia tree in California. And the goal is to get to the top twig. She will walk across every twig on that tree before she gets to the top and tell you every single fraction of anything relevant to that story or unrelevant to that story. So, you don't let them just ramble on. We talk about this. How do you not rudely tell them to get to the point? Okay, Mrs. Swanson, we're going to discuss the salient facts. I paid a lot of money to go to law school, worked my butt off to pass the bar, and I learned that word, salient facts. We're going to get a flyby at 35,000 feet of the big issues here so I can figure out a procedural way to get you justice. And then we're going to want to know the rest of the story if we become attorney-client. Okay? So that's a good way to control the interview. And when it's all said and done, we have that consultation, and we literally will map out and give them a suggested strategy of what we think we should do to get this in front of a judge as soon as possible, and maybe get it into a settlement possibility as soon as possible. And they decide whether or not they want us or not. Now, I'm skipping some parts because we're still hanging ornaments here. Now, the idea is that when they're done, they pay or they don't become a client. We never take paper from somebody who is not a client. Somebody is not a client unless they have paid and signed a specific agreement as to what we're going to do. In fairness to them, there's many people who go in and the attorney's done and he was doing the Benny Hill thing, and the lady says, well, what do you think? I think we can help you, Mrs. Swanson. Well, what's it going to cost? Give me $500, give me $1,000, and we'll call you in a couple of weeks. That's the beginning of disaster right there for you and that person. Because 2 or 3 weeks later, you don't even remember who she is, much less got started on her work, because you never did this analysis that should have happened and got them started on the work. So that's not a good thing. So anyway, so they become a client. You have the work order in front of you. Okay? You all had your car wrecked at least once, I think, probably. You went to the body shop. They came around, then they made you pull into some place, maybe the insurance company, and they say, okay, that turn signal's broken. That rocker panel's all shot. These are parts, and this is labor, and they have a written estimate on what you're going to. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, I'm going to give you software for free you can download here that's going to make you have a little parts and labor list. Okay, now that person decides to become a client and pays, and they pay. I kind of step out of the way. I like to keep the attorney out of the payment thing. When you're at Walmart, somebody's going to go to Walmart today or go to Lowe's. You're not going to watch all that stuff go by and hear the beep, 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 beep. And she says, that'll be $220. I say, can I speak to Wally? Mr. Walmart isn't here. He'll be in an hour or so. Yeah, I want to ask Mr. Wally, do I have to pay that much? And do I have to pay now? I mean, you don't do that in the commercial world, right? So why would you do that in your, you suggest what the price is and you let the secretary collect and you go somewhere else and answer some phone calls. Say, I'll be back in if you decide to sign up, as I really want to talk to you about some more issues. For right now, the staff is going to administer your file. Now, that person becomes a client. We didn't get to Rule 1.3 yet. But that person is going to become a client. And you know what? That person now is a live, high-tension wire that could put you in prison, could cost you your law license, could sue you, and you have what's called malpractice, right? Rule 1.4, I'm taking this one out of sequence. What's 1.4 about? We all need to have what? Malpractice. You all know that? Sometimes people don't know that. It wasn't the law for a long time. That's pretty recent in terms of law. What, about 15 years, 10 years? 1.4 was a rule that was this big. Now it's 3 pages. But if you don't have malpractice, they don't make you have malpractice, but they make you send a letter. And by the way, they don't let you write the letter. There's a form letter that when a person got done reading that, no one in their right mind would want you to be their client. It says in here, this person doesn't have malpractice carrier insurance and blah, blah, blah. If there's something wrong, you will have probably no money to go back against this attorney. How would you ever build a practice or confidence from clients if you sent that letter? But it is the law. You could be disbarred if you don't send that letter and don't have malpractice insurance, okay? So 1.4 now. So we have all of that. So the law calls it a retainer, okay? What's a retainer? A retainer is money that is collected from a client, right? Where does it go? Help? Got to participate a little bit. Kangaroos have little hands. Human beings have 2 segments. Okay? What? IOLTA, right? I don't know. What does IOLTA mean, by the way? Does anyone know what IOLTA means? I don't.
Interest on lawyer's trust account.
Thank you. I swear, I'm 35 years in this business. Interest on lawyer's trust account. So that board actually, there's lots of money in there, those IOLTA accounts. So that board is a governmental agency that collects the interest, and I guess it creates a fund. If some lawyer cheated somebody, you can go against that fund, right?
I don't know. In Westmoreland County, it goes to the Bar Association, I think.
Okay, I don't know either.
I don't really know.
Everything you're telling me right now, I'm learning from you. Thank you.
Well,
I'll give you a couple bucks. What?
I just know it's there.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It goes somewhere else.
Interest on lawyer's trust account. By the way, that's probably a lot of money, right? You close a sale on a house, and it sits in your IOLTA account. Somebody puts a good faith deposit of $50,000 down on something. It sits in everybody's IOLTA account. That has to be a huge amount of money. And I think there is that interest goes somewhere to benefit us, meaning us as a profession, not us as a...
Yeah.
Okay. But it's a very important account because that IOLTA account is your trust account, which means what? It hasn't been earned, right? Okay. So you're allowed to pay yourself from the trust account, but you should tell the client. By the way, when that says you should tell the client or you must tell the client, it's all in writing, right? So your fee agreement should say in there that I'm putting your money directly in the IOLTA account and I'm charging it off at the rate that we agreed to without further notice. Otherwise, you'd have to have them in there all the time for this billing approval thing. And you can't run a business like that, okay? So, but it needs to be in your retainer letter that it's going in the IOLTA account and you will be charging it off without further notice. If it's not in that retainer agreement, you're probably not doing it correctly if somebody would challenge you and say, you didn't tell me you were taking it out of the IOLTA account. I gave you that 17 years ago and I can't believe you don't still have it, something like that. So the IOLTA account, okay? Got it. All right. Now, my original point is that just being available. Remember, clearly excessive. Number 3, the likelihood, if apparent to the client, that the acceptance of a particular employment will preclude other employment by the lawyer. For starters, Mr. Doe hires you to do his divorce. You already know you can't represent his wife. So this person has cost you at least that client. This person has caused you to do work for that client, so you can't accept employment for somebody else if you don't have extra time. So the law allows you to get paid for that. That's called an availability retainer. That's in the buzzwords back here. You're allowed to have an availability retainer. Extreme example, probably not a good example, but one to make the point. Somebody calls and hires you as an attorney, and next Friday says, I changed my mind. I want my money back. Okay? You might think that I didn't do anything yet. It's only been 4 days. Okay? Well, technically speaking, you already have been exposed to, you have already precluded other employment. It is suggested by me that you have to be paid something for that, and it's probably fair to be at least $1,500 to $2,500, but I think it's important for you to explain that to them, up front. But the law allows you to have what's called an availability retainer. It's not all just hourly off of that. So when you settle up with somebody, you can explain that to them, and they really do need to be explained that I'm exposed to lawsuit by taking your case. My malpractice carrier is on board. I have all kind of things. Now, just to give you an extreme example on that, we're going to go to 1.3, a little bit out of sequence. Diligence, okay? A lawyer shall act with reasonable diligence and promptness in representing a good client. Wow, that's the big one, by the way, and promptness. I can tell you when I left the DA's office, I was making $522 take-home pay every 2 weeks. Wow. That's what I literally, when I was an assistant DA, I was making $522 every 2 weeks. And I was a part-timer, except for the AH and AP and all that, okay? I was a part-timer, and in my practice, I basically had nothing else going for me. So when I left the DA's office, it was the first time in my life. Remember, I'm an assistant principal and a teacher. First time in my life I didn't have a job, okay? Which meant a paycheck every 2 weeks from somebody else. By the way, the reason I even teach this court, I think a job, I see it a different way. I think we crave security, and that's not a good thing. J-O-B to me means just over broke. I don't care how big your job is. I don't care how much money you make. You will spend it all. So if I'm going to be just over broke, I'm going to be in something that I don't have a limit on what I can make if I decide I have a good work ethic and I'm ethical. Okay. So back to my J-O-B. It was the first time I ever did this. So I had a lady come in and I quoted her a fee and it was $3,500. Now remember, $522 take-home pay every 2 weeks? What are we talking now? That sounds a whole lot like several months as a DA. I kind of like this. I was so upset, I was so afraid that she might quit, or say I want another lawyer, that I did all the work day after day after day and got all the pleadings done and got it all filed so that she wouldn't take her retainer back. And she liked it so much, it actually created a template for us in our office that we like to really move a file. Now, if you want to have very few problems with your clients, move the file. Keep it moving. If you want to have less complications with your opponent, stay in his face paper-wise, okay? Set the agenda. Don't respond to the agenda. Clients love it too. It creates confidence. And you go through the retainer and you get paid, and it all works a lot better. People are more willing to pay a bill earlier in connection to when they hired you than they are after 6 months, and they're not so sure they should have done it at all, or I don't know how it's going, did I throw money away, and all those little people are like in their ear and stuff, those thoughts are occurring. But again, just get the work done. So again, going back to diligence though, the promptness, okay, that was our original point, diligence and promptness. Now, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. Anybody in here do any divorces ever in your life? Okay, divorces, unfortunately, there's lots of them, so we do them. I mean, we do lots of divorces. We don't like to do them. Nobody likes to do divorces. But we do them because there's lots of people divorcing out there. Okay, Mrs. Swanson hires you. Mrs. Swanson has a Benny Hill conference. You tell Mrs. Swanson, give me $500, I'll call you in a couple of weeks. You're on the hook. You're her attorney. Hello? Yes, Jeannie. Mrs. Swanson on the phone. Who's Mrs. Swanson? Okay, don't even know who she is. She's a client. Oh, okay. Oh, is that lady that has a divorce? Yeah. Oh, okay. Did she pay us? Yeah, she paid $500, but we didn't do anything. We didn't really analyze the case. She's on the phone. Okay, Mrs. Swanson, what's up? I just saw that rotten bastard husband of mine going down the street in a convertible with a blonde floozy and the hair blowing out the window. He has all 3 of our kids. He has the business checkbooks in the back of the car, and I know he had got passports because the lady at the prothonotari's office where they got the passports told me, you know your kids are going to Mexico and they're leaving the country, and she has the business checkbooks and all that. What are all those issues, right? Interstate Hague Convention on custody, interstate jurisdiction issues. We got a business checkbook. We have a restraining order. You know, a lot of states have divorce in other states. And Florida, for example, you file a divorce, it automatically enjoins both parties, but that's not so in Pennsylvania. So I think it's very important for you to get a restraining order for no dissipation of the checking account, especially you got international things going on. So what's Rule 1.3 say? A lawyer should pursue a matter on behalf of a client despite opposition. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, when you got that call, you were at your daughter's wedding, okay? You're giving the bride away. A lawyer should pursue a matter on behalf of a client despite opposition, obstruction, or personal inconvenience to the lawyer, and take whatever lawful and ethical measures are required to vindicate the client's cause or endeavor. That's right there in your comment on Rule 1.3. I guess you're not going to give the bride away, or you're going to get disbarred. Okay, for that $500 you said, give me $500, I'll call you later. Okay? See how like sloppiness doesn't work. If she was sitting in your office, you could have got an emergency restraining order that very day. You didn't even know that until you got that phone call while your daughter is saying, come on, Daddy, they're waiting for us. you know? And that rule is 1.3, and 1.3 is your diligence rule, and then of course you already know about the advocacy, the highest degree of zealousness and all that you're supposed to give your clients, okay? What I'm trying to do, because we're jumping around here, is I'm going to cover the really important things first, and then we're going to double back. I want to go back to the IOLTA account. How many people in here use charge cards or accept charge cards to get paid? Anybody see my coffee? Oh, here it is. Nobody? Oh, you do? Oh, two of you do. I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand. Okay. Don't want to rile you up there. Okay, I'm going to save you some money now. Have you ever had a chargeback?
Yeah.
Not pleasant, right?
No, it's not.
Can you tell our friends here what a chargeback is?
I use this thing called a law pay, and they process the fee like someone comes in with a credit card. And if a client is dissatisfied in some instance, there'll be like an inquiry with law pay. They I guess have some organization or something set up where they'll review it, and then you have to go through everything you did for the client. You have to show if you had a fee agreement, and you have to show the work that you did for the client, basically.
And pending that, they take the money back out of the account. Pending that. I had it happen to me. It wasn't all that long ago. I had a guy that had an estate. I came home early from my vacation. I did a great job. This was a bad we were trying to prove undue influence. Anybody ever tried to prove undue influence? Okay, I tried to talk him out of it for 2 months. Undue influence. The girl, her father had lots of money and left everything to his stepwife. By the way, this issue comes up a lot. The step parents, and the child of the original mom got nothing of value. The only shot we have is undue influence. I told him, listen, I'm your guy. I'm a good litigator. I'll make the argument passionately. I did all the things I told you guys to do. I quoted a fee. I discounted the fee. I let them pay with a charge. I did everything. I got letters from them. Did everything. Went to court. The judge heard the whole case. Did a really good job. People told me you did a really good job. It's too bad it didn't work. It wasn't in the stars. That was not a case or whatever. 5 days later, the charge company just took it out of the account it was in. It was paid a month before. Everybody in your office was paid, in our normal cash flow. All at once, $8,500. Now, I have a successful practice, okay? We're not rolling in it, but we do all right. But $8,500 that you didn't know wasn't going to be in your checking account is a $17,000 swing, right? 85 plus 85 minus is $17,000. And like that, it was gone. And if you read, I never read it all. By the way, they send you those booklets and all that tissue thin stuff. Now, I didn't do law pay. I actually have a terminal. I'm a merchant. And you'll see advertisements out there for people who on TV. For everything else, there's MasterCard, right? You know how they're advertising to let me be your charge card person? Be careful about charge cards that advertise that they're in the arena for you, the consumer. That means that the consumer can basically say, he did not deliver what he promised. I don't know how many words that is. But if you add them up, that's enough for them to take it out and make you fight for your money backward. And in this particular case, it went out. We responded. About 4 weeks later, it went back in. They responded again. It went out again. It went back and forth like a tennis ball for 6 months. I finally sued them both. I sued the guy, and I sued the charge card company for tortious interference with a contract. Listen, I'm not being cocky right now. I'm liable to go home tonight and say that I lost that now and they took it out again for all I know. It's not over. And I'm not being bold here, but all I know is that I think I got their attention when I said, listen, this is reprehensible. It's one thing to take it out. It's another thing to put it back. It's another thing to take it out again and put it back. And nobody ever heard my side of it. okay? But you know what I had to do, though, besides all that? I did have to reconstruct the whole file, everything I did. Every I was dotted, every T, because guess what? That paper could someday be reviewed by a fee dispute committee, right? And that fee dispute committee can also initially send it off to the disciplinary board. So listen, that's not the kind of client you want. If somebody's going to be nitpicking with you and doing that stuff like that, try to avoid having that client at all. But I didn't see that one coming. I should have seen it coming because it wasn't the client who paid it. It was a boyfriend who paid it. And that was the key, you know.
Don't you have to report that to your professional liability carrier as well? You sue your client?
Did I sue the client?
Yeah, I think that's one of the stipulations in the policy. And that just pisses you off with them.
It pisses them off.
Yeah, I said it back.
Yeah,
I apologize.
because they're afraid they're liable to file a counterclaim.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't sue them with a complaint. I just filed a writ. But by the way, technically speaking, that's a lawsuit. And of course, let's talk about that a little bit because we were going to talk about that. What's a writ? Everybody know what a writ is in Pennsylvania? Pennsylvania is one of the, I don't know how many states, and not all states do it.
Everybody does it.
Not very, I don't think there's very many at all anymore. But when you want to sue somebody, you can just file a precipice for a writ of summons. It takes you 10 minutes to do it. Somebody comes to you with a personal injury case. You may not have all the necessary, what I'm saying is make sure that you let them know that you're not taking the file yet until you review all those conflict issues and dates and stuff. Or I think maybe even smarter would be to file a writ so that you can say that from the minute in time you met that client, you told the statute of limitation. You at least tried the best you could to toll statute of limitation. That wouldn't do anything with latches and stuff like that, but I think it would clear you as far as doing everything diligent for the client. But what do we know about a writ? The defendant can issue a rule on you to file a complaint within 20 days. So if you file a writ, don't think you can just sit there and stick a writ on somebody. They can issue something back, and in 20 days you file a particular complaint with all of these averments, factual averments, verified by somebody properly, and then you can file that. Although you probably can ask for an extension of time to do that and get one, at least one, you would have to file a complaint. Now, remember we talked about hourly rates and how it goes? This is how crazy this one goes. I'm here. We're going to make sure we deal with it. Okay? So I just filed a writ. Somebody ruled me. I filed a complaint. What do you think is the next thing most likely to happen? Do you think they're going to sit back and not do anything in 20 days and you're going to send a default notice? Well, maybe you can send a default notice. They're probably not going to do that. What are they going to do? Thank you. Preliminary objections, right? It's the greatest phrase ever. Preliminary objections. Preliminary objections mean I didn't answer the complaint. This is so ridiculous, I'm not going to answer it. There's a million technical reasons why this case should not go forward. Now, you have to know the local rules because each courthouse seems to have different local rules on that one, right? When the preliminary objections are filed, if the person files with it what's called a precipice for argument, it skips the judge and goes to the court admin, and the court admin now schedules the judgment, and usually some local rule tells you when your brief is due. And your brief is due, sometimes, like Mercer County is real confused. They'll just say, see when your brief's due according to our local rule. They're going to make you read their local rule. So your brief is due, and when your brief is due, they file their brief, and then it's set for argument. I just had a case. We were able to settle it. I had a case where I had a lady who came to me long after the fact. Her house burned. She didn't get all the insurance proceeds. There was $70-some-odd thousand left. She had a claim against somebody who cleaned the clothing, claim against somebody who did the drywall, a claim against almost every contractor who did something in that case, and a claim against the insurance company, and a claim against some adjuster or something. You hire somebody, I guess, that says what needs to be done. And they hire these subcontractors. Anyway, 7 defendants, okay? And 7 defendants, each one of them decided to file preliminary objections all at different times. Do you have any idea what my scheduling system looked like with those briefing schedules and those arguments? I did the Matador approach, right? Everybody know what the Matador approach is? I picked the earliest preliminary objection. On the 19th day, I amended the complaint and blew them all off the board, right? Because when you amend the complaint, it starts over again. But I knew I had 20 days because they're going to do it again, right? Now, I have to tell you, there's no rule that says how many times you can amend a complaint. I've been involved in cases that we've amended the complaint 6 times. I'm not happy about it, but there's no real rule on not amending a complaint. You could probably at some point in time get the judge's attention and say, listen, this is ridiculous, you know. But something more important than that, preliminary objections. Okay, what is the purpose of a preliminary objection? It's a technical argument. It's an application. But I guarantee you there are facts in those preliminary objections. So when I get preliminary objections, the first thing I do is within 20 days, our rules of civil procedure, I don't look for trouble, I make sure I file a factual response to the POs before we even file a brief. Because we know if there's a factual variation, that needs to be resolved before the judge could ever get to the legal issue. And I've seen some guys really end up with they think they're arguing facts now that aren't even proven by the defendant. And it gets your eye off of the ball. So if you file a factual argument, the subparts of the preliminary objection will allow you to petition the court to resolve those facts. And the court can put that by appointing a master, by having depositions or something, but that's going to hold up the POs too. So I'm strongly suggesting anybody in here, if you have preliminary objections, do file within 20 days a factual response even before you file your brief or your amended complaint. So, better, okay? Civil attorneys, is anybody, is it 312 or 213? What's the pretrial conference rule in civil procedure? It's a rule about your pretrial statement and everything. We know that the moving party, it could be a defendant petitioner, it could be, you know, a motion, it could be a complaint. It could be any type of proceeding where the person asking for something is the moving party in my hypothetical. So whether it's a motion or whether it's a complaint or whether it's summary judgment, whatever it is, if you're the moving party, you have 2 burdens. The burden of going forward with some evidence and the burden of persuasion to a degree required by that proceeding. Beyond a reasonable doubt, preponderance, clear and convincing. Got it? We framed the rules? Okay. You're the moving party. What keeps you awake at night? Stupid stuff, right? I got this invoice. How am I going to... They're going to say no foundation, Your Honor, hearsay, business records exception. All those crazy things, those make you get heartache. Did I make triplicate copies? Did the secretary forget to put the signature page on it? Is somebody saying, Your Honor, I can't read this, I don't know what this says. Those are the kind of things that make you look stupid in court, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you some more help on that. Mr. Pape, are you ready to proceed? I am, Your Honor. Call your first witness. My first witness is my party is Jane Doe. The other person is Bob Swanson. I call Bob Swanson as on cross. Do you guys even know you can do that? Yes, you can do that. You can do it anytime. Mr. Swanson, I'm going to show you this. What is? That's a bill. You ever see that bill? Yeah. You can get all that stuff in as on cross through the other witness without any of the craziness of worrying about somebody bars an important piece of evidence with some foundational objection, or because the judge is in a mood right now that the cell phone doesn't show it properly or something like that. So I'm saying, though, when you use as on cross or you use that rule there's a subsection in that rule that says for stipulations, right? Your Honor, this case is whether the house is falling down. It is not whether or not it would cost $30,000 for the house to be fixed. So the things that are not at issue, you can actually get those things admitted and stipulated to, so that's going to take some of the burden off of you. When I was a prosecutor, we had summary appeals. Anybody know what a summary appeal is? A summary appeal is a moving violation vehicle code. We'll give it to Angelo. He takes all the crap, right? APAH, remember all that? Okay, so I got summary appeals. Summary appeals, I'll never forget, I would go into court and there could be 50 people out there in the hallway. 2 old ladies who the judge is going to feel sorry for, or somebody that does nothing but overweight cases. And I got a question of a 19-wheel tractor trailer, whether it's too 200 pounds overweight on a bridge, and whether the sign was in the right place, and whether all that stuff is, and we're talking about a fine that's $190,000 because it's how many pounds overweight and whatnot. So all of those things come back to haunt you when you realize you have all those elements you have to accomplish. So I'm just telling you, this could be a way to skip some of that anxiety. Okay? Okay. 10 after 10. Friendly rule. Okay? Let me make sure, because I want to stay in the important stuff first. Fee disputes, fees, terms of payment. Little caveat, terms of payment. I had one of the first clients I ever had at age 32 or 33. A guy paid me with 7 jars of hot peppers for his divorce. Doesn't work. Scope of representation. People, please, if again there's a rule, 1.4, you got that? Why that's important, malpractice and all that stuff? The IOLTA account, fees. 1.2 is your friend. Write this on the palm of your hand. I once wrote a whole closing argument on the palm of my hand, by the way. I'm going like this one time in front of the jury, and there's ink all over my face. But palm of your hand if you have to. 1.2. I'm going to read you 2 sentences. I'm not going to bore you. Subject to, skip. Subject to paragraph C and D, a lawyer shall abide by client's decisions. Skip that. Subsection C, a lawyer may limit the scope of the representation if the limitation is reasonable under the circumstances and client gives formal consent. What's the first way you limit? Anybody here have clients? Email is not a good thing anymore sometimes unless you control it. Email comes across your desk, and a client you're representing in a divorce says somebody just tacked a notice on the house payment has been paid, and that's going in there, and they're in the foreclosure process and whatnot, right? They can maybe say that they believe you were representing that on that. You got to file an answer. You got to file POs. Maybe they didn't properly serve. Are you going to ignore the fact and not raise preliminary objections? You got all kinds of things you got to read to. Those foreclosure documents are like that. Act 90, is that Act 94? Is it 94? The warning you're about to be foreclosed.
Act 91.
91. Thank you. So 91, right? There's probably a slew of preliminary objections in there. I can think of one right off the bat right now. When we know these mortgage foreclosure companies, sometimes they're like sweatshops across the other side of the state. I was teaching in Philadelphia, and somebody booed me because I said that. But a lot of foreclosures come from Philadelphia, right? They're all the same law firm. Did you ever see the verification? Right? I verify that the statements in this document are true and correct. That's not a proper verification. That's not a real verification. You know what they do is they'll get somebody to sign that. You know what? Every single foreclosure I ever had that I got stuck in, I didn't want it. But one of the first things I did, I filed a preliminary objection. But now here's the problem, because now it gets to become a lot of work. What do we know about preliminary objections? You can file them if they amend the complaint. You can file them again, but what? Once. So you file POs and you leave one out. Who do you think is going to sue you? Your client. You can only do it once. So make sure you have to go through a whole thing. That's 4 hours of your life right there going through. But one of the great preliminary objections is not properly verified. So the judge in Allegheny County, I said, Your Honor, this is a problem to verify. Number one, I don't even know who that is. I said, I want to take depositions of everybody in that law office to find out who signed that. And then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to ask them under oath whether they have personal knowledge to verify these facts. And I know they're going to say no. And there's probably going to be some attorney say, I signed it. I just didn't want you to know who I was. Okay? That case went off the books like magic. Just going there. Okay? So the preliminary objection, scope of representation, let's go back to the issue at hand. Your client sent you the Act 91 notice. You don't do anything about it. 20 days, right? No response. Maybe she doesn't bring in the default notice. You're not the attorney of record, so they're going to send it to you. She gets it. She didn't think it was important. You know, I get so anxious when I get those green certified letters that I get panic. I just don't accept them. Okay? This is 6 months after she got a default judgment for $180,000, and she's been emailing you that, and she goes to your malpractice carrier and says, give me the money that you didn't defend her on. Well, I wasn't her client. You never told her you weren't your client. You didn't have a scope of representation letter. Okay? I'm not trying to make you anxious. I'm trying to make you smart and not anxious. Okay? So I have this thing when somebody, first of all, in my retainer agreement, it says email is a delivery system. It's not a way to function with your lawyer. I tell them up front, I'm not a McDonald's window. You don't pull up and order a Biggie Fry and a Big Whopper. I mean, that's not who I am. I practice law with precision for every single issue, for every single cause, for every single phase of work. You must be sitting in front of me without me being Benny Hill and you not being Benny Hill either. And we have a written understanding exactly what I'm going to do for you. And what I'm not going to do is nothing that doesn't have that procedure. So a client sends me an email the other day. He says, you sent me my email back. I sent your email back. You sent me my email back. Did you read what was attached to it? Oh, no. Pull it up. You called me, by the way, without an appointment. I have some lady ticked at me right now that I'm talking to you instead of her because she made an appointment. But I'm going to make a point here. Pull it up. What's it say? It says here that I'm required to make an appointment to come into the office to talk about the attached matter. That's called the quick kick, the punt, right? Part of our life is crazy because of all these deadlines and they throw new ones at you left and right. The only way you can protect yourself is to have a formal way to acquire new work, and then they come in and you put it on the conveyor belt. When somebody sends me something new, I always put it back in that system, which means that I can't possibly deal with this right now. You need to schedule a proper appointment. My secretary will find the next available time I have, and we will talk about this like two humans, not two Benny Hills. And first, we're going to agree whether I do it or not. Second, if I do it, I need to get paid. And third, if it's okay and you don't really care anyway, you're going to sign something saying, I'm not the attorney for that. You're not going to say that I hired this jackass to let me get a default judgment. Okay? By the way, most people like it if you do business like that. They don't know. They've never done anything professionally. So that scope of representation. And while we're on that topic, I run a successful practice. That doesn't mean we're rolling in it. Doesn't mean anything. I have 3 part-time secretaries. I have a paralegal. I have my son, who, by the way, most people say, I can't believe you let your son go to law school. What's wrong with you? Didn't you like him? You know. That's kind of like the opinion of some lawyers right now about what we do. Hopefully you'll have a different opinion when you leave. But I have my son, and we have a bunch of associate attorneys. Touching one thing that we glossed over back to that contingent fee thing, I said I refer cases out. Now we know that, for example, in Ohio, if you refer a case out, you're not allowed to share the fee with anybody unless the client, knows? And in Ohio, they're pretty strict. They want you to do equal amount of work, or some work, get paid for it. Pennsylvania doesn't require us to do that yet, but there's law review articles on that. So it's okay to refer a case out, but make sure the client knows. And make sure, because people who do personal injury, like I don't need more headaches. Somebody who does personal injury, I just send them a little form with the contact information on it and all that stuff like that. And the attorneys I work for or work with, they know enough to tell the client, Mr. Papa and I are part of this case together and we'll both be being paid, You're only paying one attorney, even though there's only one attorney fee, it's going to be shared. So there's some ethical issues there. But going back to the running the practice, we bill and collect, and I'm not saying this to be smart or not to have the IRS audit me or something like that. I'm basically saying that traditionally over the years we're around $500,000 a year with 3 part-time secretaries and in a town that is not the town it used to be. My graduating class had 740 kids in it. Newcastle was huge back then. I think they graduated by about 250 now, if that. So the economy is not bad. So and that's collected, by the way. That's not billed. We bill more than that. So all I'm saying is we have found a way to handle, and it's not about how much money, it's about how we handle that volume of work. This is so important. The most important piece of equipment in my office, and I have this old mansion that we restored that's kind of neat. built in 1902. Most important piece of equipment in that whole office is the feeder on the copy machine. Because it's what? A scanner. Now, that's so cool. I don't let anyone open with that volume of work we have, I don't let anyone look at the mail but me at first. My son still criticizes that if a girlfriend, he doesn't have a girlfriend, but if a girlfriend sent him a letter, his dad would see it first. I open all the mail. I want to take a snapshot of that and see what's going on. And especially if it's certified. Okay? I already told you if it's certified from the Union Trust Building or wherever they're at, now I want to know that too, or from the government. We're about to levy, Those are things you want to know. Okay, so as soon as we get that paper, it goes into our high-speed scanner, and it's so cool to listen to. Going jing, 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 jing. Do you know your copy machines? You don't know it. Probably the things your copy machine can do, you probably don't know. Ask the guy who sold it to you. Your copy machine can direct those files digitally to the right client's file, and you don't have to do filing anymore. How cool is that when you go to court and you just look at what date something came in and you can print it? It always works, it's years later. So your high-speed scanner is very important. Now, the first thing that happens is we have 4 basic bins. This is what we do to run a whole practice. The first bin says scan, okay? And they know, depending on whose name is it, to scan it to what file. The second bin says FYI. Dear Helen, attached is a document that's come into our possession. We've reviewed it thoroughly. By the way, this is why you get paid too, by the way. You have to review all that mail. You should get paid to do that. Well, by the way, we reviewed this and we're okay with it. We don't have any questions. We think you should put this with your important papers, but it is for your information only. If somehow it causes you anxiety, please schedule a proper appointment. Otherwise, we'll assume you're properly informed 1.4, right? Bang, just like that. That's 2 bins. Every piece of mail. The third bin is a document that says you need to be in courtroom 4 at 9 o'clock on the 21st of June for a hearing. Or notice you have been sued in court. You should take this to an attorney at once. That's what we call a DDL. It's a document deadline. There's only 2 things that come across your desk every day: a hearing notice or a deadline. Okay? So my secretaries already know that if it's in this bin, they send it to the client. 1, they make 2 copies of it. They send it to the client. It goes in the book. It goes on the massive dry erase board. If it's a hearing, it's put in red Sharpie erasable ink. If it's a deadline, it's blue. And I can walk past, even in the middle of several phone calls or yelling or being yelled at, and I can look at that thing here. I believe that out of sight is out of mind. So I like to have a big wall board where I have all these documents and just a little reminder that, boy, you got a lousy week coming up. You better get some help or something like that. So, and the next one is you have a hearing on the such and such a date. It is your obligation to call the office, not to talk about it, but to schedule an appointment to talk about it. When you schedule the appointment to talk about it, then we will discuss what we're going to do about it, and we will prepare and get exhibits and whatnot. I think that our email, it's like a standard email for FYI, it's a standard email for appointment notice, and it's a standard email for a deadline or a scheduling event. The fourth and last one is no deadline, no document, but it's important. The lady sent you the foreclosure, the Act 91, right? Send it right back to her, saying this is something that clearly isn't in your scope of representation. It's up to you to schedule an appointment if you want us to do anything about it. Otherwise, we'll assume that you just sent it to us. And so I'm just saying, in 4 plastic bins on a wall, every piece of mail that comes in your office, well, how do I know that? Because I've been doing it for 30 years. It works. And it makes your life a lot simpler. And it files for you. Now, one thing, a couple little things, if it's folded and the staple in there, it'll jam up your scanner or something like that. Take the staple out. Sometimes they stick together even though you took the staple out. But it's a great way to make your life somewhat more manageable. Your demeanor will be nicer with your client. You're controlling your schedule. There's no court in the country that I know of that will deny a continuance if you file a motion that shows that you have 3 things on the same date and time. Now, they can do it all they want, and if they do, there's nobody can sue you for that. You know what happens? Many times we'll have 3 things on the thing. They all get continued. And then they're all over the board. But the first thing my secretaries already know to do is take a look and see if there's a conflict. Because really, Think about it. The hardest thing in this business is to be where you're supposed to be, with what you're supposed to have, when you're supposed to be there. The rest of it is pretty easy. I mean, you learned. You're a seasoned veteran. You're a darn good lawyer. And you know when you say a darn good lawyer, you're a darn good professional. That's a mouthful to say you're a lawyer. That's what started all this discussion here. You're a special human being. What you survived, what you did. People, you walk into the graduation party this summer with some of your relatives, they're going to be whispering, "That's that girl, she's the lawyer. Yeah, I heard she's pretty smart. Yeah, I know, she was smart in school too." They look up to you. You don't even know they look up to you. They do. You need to look up to you. It seems to me it's easier to you look up to you if you're not being tortured by your client that you need a PFA because they're pounding on your door because you missed a deadline or because they haven't paid you and they're screaming at you. You don't have a scope of representation. You've created this hell or heaven, either way. You know, and in my opinion, it's a heaven if you control it, but it's really a hell if you don't. So I think it's probably better to quit if you're not going to do something about it and have a practice management plan. It's probably better to quit, because you're really hurting yourself and your family. Go do something else, you know, teach school, lecture, be a CLE instructor, I don't know. Tell other people why you quit. Maybe that'll make other people quit, I don't know. I'm just saying I chose the other way. The Robert Frost thing, right? I chose the path less traveled by. I'm sitting here half as smart as probably anybody in this room, but I can tell you I learned how to survive. And I learned how to create an infrastructure. If it's not the one you want, make your own, but create one so that you can do this job and have some fun doing it. Okay, we are now at 10:20, right? And even though we're not taking an official break, I know we have some technical things we have to do. I think you should stretch because the butt can only endure a fraction of what the mind can, or vice versa. How's it go the other way? Did I say it wrong? That's right. That's right. I said it backwards last week. Huh? Anyway, in about three or 4 minutes, you'll just hear me talking again. I'm not going to yell, "Hey, we're started again." Just make sure you get back, but stretch your legs and do the kidney thing. And then we're going to come down to home stretch. What? We got 1 hour left, right? We're going to teach you how to make money in the next hour ethically. I already showed you what the ethical limitations are. About other states. Unless you're licensed there, you can't practice there, right? You can't appear in another state. Appear, I think, means documents too, right? Anybody want to challenge me on that? I'm not exactly sure. But I'm pretty sure if you send a document to another court, that's appearing also. It's not just physically appearing. Okay? Remember, we talked about the availability retainer. The availability retainer starts with you filing what? Entry of appearance. It means now that all client mail is directed to you, directed to your care, directed to your exposure malpractice. So if somebody quits on you 2 days later, you have to do what? File a motion to withdraw. In Mercer County, they're not going to let you quit unless you show up. They're going to schedule a hearing anyway, even if you haven't signed consent. I have to tell you, it's practice in our office that we have several things that will void the attorney-client relationship for several breaches in the contract, including payment. Because I tell people that if I don't get paid, I can't ethically represent you. Well, how does that work? I can't do this job with the other clients I have and do an ethical job if we don't have compensation that is sustainable. And judges basically, you know, a judge sometimes won't let you out just because you didn't get paid. So I think you need to put some things in there. And so we basically have the billing and stuff that you didn't show up for your billing conference, whatnot. But you can withdraw. And I actually have the consented withdrawal signed by a person even if the file is successfully completed. Even you criminal lawyers, I think when you're done sentencing, it might not be a bad idea to, while you're in front of the judge, withdraw so that you have to re-enter your appearance and you're not stuck now every time somebody forgets their expungement or something on an ARD or whatever. Unless you're paid for that, you should be out. So anyway. So back to this case. I'm not licensed in Ohio, right? So how do I get licensed in Ohio? I file something called a pro hoc vici. Pro hoc vici is Latin for this intended purpose. Now, what they're asking you to do is to say under oath that you're not just skipping their bar process. You're only showing up. We know that if you're a competent, integrity, hardworking attorney, the client's going to like you. And if he has a problem in a different state, he might want you along. So the elements of a pro hoc vici petition are basically, one, that you're a lawyer, that you're in good standing, that you're admitted to this state and this Supreme Court number, that you're not doing this because you're trying to skip their bar exam process, that you're not making a habit out of this. You have a unique relationship to the client, the facts, and the law necessary. Number 8, you have a relationship with a local attorney who's going to make sure that you understand the procedural rules. You have already looked at some of the procedural rules, and you know if you don't know them all, you can get help. This guy will even appear with you if you want as a sponsoring attorney, and generally it'll be admitted. Now, I can tell you this, I've been in, I think, 15 or 16 states, and I can tell you I've never been denied, but there was one in Indiana, I'm pretty sure it was Indiana, where the judge denied it, but I think he denied it because he didn't like my client. He denied my petition. Now, they have a new way of doing it online. You know, everything's online now. And I don't know of anybody that's ever deprived online. I think it's really cool to do it online because if you do it online, they're probably going to be able to see it if you're doing that all the time. Like I live right on the border there. If they know I'm scooting back and forth to Boardman Municipal Court or something every day and I just didn't take their bar exam or get reciprocity, they're not going to let that go on. But more important, they want, I think, as much as $500 online when you process it, just the filing thing. So they got $500 off of you just for asking for it. So in the old days, I used to just present them to the trial court and they're granted and you have this order. So anyway, so let's assume I did all that. And so Mrs. So-and-so is in my office, and so I said, okay, I'm at 1.2. I said, Mrs. So-and-so, I don't know where this is going to go, but it looks like there's going to be a trial in Summit County on a DUI, and I'm going to need to be prepared for that. And you're going to get a hit because of the probation violation up in Portage County, and I need to enter my appearance. So I have 2 or 3 things I can do. I can do the Benny Hill thing. Give me $500, I'll talk to you later. Okay, hopefully we're past that, right? Okay, I don't do the Benny Hill thing. I do the other thing and say trial, bump, 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 bump. I'm going to need $20,000. And that's not good. I'm suggesting to you that 1.2 is everybody's friend in this particular case, because I tell her that I'm going to first have to enter my appearance in Portage County. Now, does it take me 2.5 hours to draft a petition for appearance? No, that's not. That's all the things that goes with it. Talking about it, filing it, serving it on the DA, chatting with the DA, letting them know that my pro hoc vici is granted and whatnot. So I'm going to have 3.25 in a motion to release, because he's in jail, by the way. They ran the thing and he had a probation hit, so they kept him in jail. So I need to get a motion to get him out, and we're going to talk about how I'm going to get him out in the next class. I need to file a motion for appearance in Summit County, which is in Akron, because Summit County is where he got the new DUI. And now there's several things going on in Summit County that I need to postpone, so I'm creating a motion there. Notice I had nothing in here for serving or filing these documents. I basically created this form of things that I see as reoccurring themes. These categories could be anything you want. So I'm suggesting that those are the documents necessary, and I call those pleadings up here. This is the date we will begin our representation, because that's the date she brought her charge card. By the way, my retainer agreement says, although there's a chargeback feature, my retainer agreement demands payment in a certain amount in a certain manner. It's cash. I will, as a courtesy, let you pay with check or let you pay with a charge card, but the quid pro quo is that if there's a dispute, you will not use something outrageous like a chargeback. I don't know if that would stand up. I think it probably would, though. We've actually thought about making people go to the bank and use their charge card to get a cash advance or something like that to get around. And again, I have no problem with somebody challenging a fee. I have no problem at all. But that's not fair. That take it out with no warning like that with your cash flow situation. But I have it in my representation agreement, and I've actually sent that to the charge card company saying this person already agreed not to do what they're doing. And there are other remedies, by the way. If they got gouged, there's a fee dispute, they could sue me civilly or whatever. So anyway, so now we're estimating that travel time included, we're going to have preparation, and we're going to have the Portage County deal, the pre-trial criminal proceeding in Summit County, where we're hopefully going to be able to wrap this up. And so let me go back down here. We have miscellaneous and correspondence and research and hearing preparation. At the end of the day, we have 25.7 hours, 70 hours of billable time. Okay? Now, what's she going to say? Oh my God. And I'm going to say, well, what did you think you were going to pay? And I'm going to say, after she says what that she thought she was going to pay, oh my God. What have we just done? We oh my God at each other, so we know we're not going to work together, right? Doesn't work that way. In fact, I'm liable to tell her, you got somebody else that'll do that? Yeah, there's a guy down the street will do it. Listen, you have him call me because I have plenty of work for him, okay? This is what I have to do. It is not exactly these hours, but this is my estimate on billable time. I bill at $275 per hour. You can pay us in cash, or if we have another agreement, it can be card or check. We have two ways to pay the fees, two payment plans. One is we'll do this work if you pay at least 50% down, okay? So in this particular case, that's $3,533.75. And the rest of it, we'll have some kind of a payment arrangement that you can pay. Maybe automatic card authorization as we go. We have this, again, if it was on software, by the way, you can create any price you want. The software is yours. You know, I'm giving it away free. I'm saying, but we give people a 20% discount if they pay up front, and then we also cap the fee for those tasks. So we have told them that we won't bill at $275 an hour. We agree that for a capped fee on these tasks, does that say mortgage foreclosure? No. Does that say trial by jury in Summit County? No. Is that consistent with Rule 1.2? Yes. Not only is it consistent, because if she made you say, I want a bill for all of it right now, I don't want any of this bull crap, okay, I'm going to cost it out to you, and you're going to faint when you see how much it could be. So how about if we take it in small segments, and by doing it in small segments, it has two advantages. Number one, you get a chance to see how the file is going. Maybe it's going really bad. Maybe you want your son to have a PD or something like that. Maybe you don't like me. Why buy the pig in the poke? This is a chance for us, because remember, up here, phase one. See that? Oh, there's phase 120, right? No, it's not about that. It's about phases. And what we tell the client is if this is what we're agreeing to, then we know that when we are done with these tasks, we have fulfilled all of our obligations. Number two, if you want us to go further because we're doing a good job for you, we're going to sit and have another conference. And we're going to cost it out. I don't think I've ever seen any case go more than 3 phases. Like divorces are usually 2 phases, you know, the pleading, the custody, the conciliation conference, and eventually. I want to go back real quick, and I lost my place, and I'm sorry. But Rule 1.2, note to self, put tabs in here next time. Got it. Rule 1.2 sub C again. A lawyer may limit the scope of representation, including representation, if the limitation is reasonable under the circumstances. Straightforward. Does everybody in here think that's reasonable? I think it's reasonable. By the way, it worked. Person never went to jail. I got him out immediately. Number 2, under the circumstances and the client gives informed consent. This is your Exhibit A attached to the retainer agreement. Guess what else it is? It's the ticket in the office. Anybody here so busy that you had to have another attorney work for you? How'd that work out for you? You know what you end up doing? You end up trying to keep them busy because you know, God, by the time I explain it, I might as well do it myself, right? And you tell them what to do, and you tell them what to do, and all that, and you end up giving them busy work, so it's actually costing you more time. You know what this is? This is a work ticket now. This is laying on the file, and anybody can pick it up and do those documents and get it ready to get it sent out. More importantly, when that is checked off and those things are done, that's laying on the bill, and the hearing is coming up on the Portage County thing. Excuse me, Mrs. Swanson, we're probably going to exhaust the retainer when we come home. I'm willing to live with that flat capped fee. If we get stuck and I got to go back once or twice, or if it's going to take 5 hours instead of 4, I'm okay with that. But what you need to know is that unless we have a new retainer for phase 2, go, oh my God, how many phases are there? Probably only 2. I can't guarantee that. All I can tell you is I'm going to try my best to bring it in under budget and whatnot, but this is how it works. I'm telling you, it works. It works. And now you're not committed beyond that task list. So that's really so powerful on scope of representation. Now, let's have some more discussion, and I'm going to shrink that for a minute. Let's take out that form you have, okay? Let's go back to that civil case. You got a pen. You don't have to do it if you want to. You're exhausted or something. You got up too early. I don't care. All I'm saying is I gave you the form. Okay. We decide to file a writ, okay? I think in that writ, you should be looking at 2.25 hours because though it doesn't take you to do a precipice and a writ that many hours, you're now attorney of record and you're on the hook. So if the way I scan that writ, I'm looking at, I better stay in front of the camera, huh? Sorry. Under the pleading, I have P/W writ 2.25 hours. I have filing and serving. And by the way, it's not just filing, the act of filing and serving. It's proving that. So I have 1.5 in each of those. Consultation and preparation. I basically tell them the consultation's free unless you hire me. Then the plan becomes 3 billable hours. You might say, well, gee, why would anybody hire you then? They hire me because they know I got a plan. They're not going to call back 2 weeks from now to find out, have you done anything yet? Okay? So I put 3 billable hours in there for the plan, or else maybe I'll even put 1. I'm going to put 1 for right now. And then hearing preparation, I'm going to put 0 there. Miscellaneous, I'm going to put 2, and 2 for correspondence. That's what I call wiggle room. Under the filing fee on the right-hand side, what's it cost to file a complaint in Allegheny County or a writ? $300? Let's say 300. Okay. So I got 300 there. So if I do my math, who, by the way, can help me and get your phone out and do a little calculator for me? Anybody can pull their phone out? That will? I know you can. Will? Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. 2.25, 1.15, 1.15, 1, 2, 2 times 275. 2006, 26, 25. And we have $300 for a filing fee, so we have $2,926.25. Okay? Now, where it gets weird, and I can tell you, we always help people. If it turns into a PO jungle, we eat a lot of billable time. But at least I show them what I'm eating and what I'm doing, okay? For example, some cowboy, some buckaroo. Do you remember the movie Red October with Sean Connery? I love that movie. He was worried that some buckaroo from America would cause World War III. But anyway, some buckaroo on the other side, some young guy in Allegheny County who just graduated from law school and thinks he needs to show people that he's a hard, whatever you call it. I'm sorry, but I've run into a couple of those. remember the movie Stripes or something where the drill sergeant said, "Relax, Clarence. There's a bus leaving in 10 minutes, be under it." You know, have neat little things like that. Anyway, so I hate when people are mean. I hate when judges are mean too, by the way, and I've been meaned at by judges several times. But okay, so I got $275, I got $2,625, and now the client, the buckaroo, rules me to file a complaint. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's going to take us at least 4 hours to file a complaint, draft it, and modify it, and tweak it back and forth, and all that. So if you want to do this, my accountant guy, can you just hang on, and I'm going to give you numbers again. So let's be conservative. 4 billable hours to draft a complaint. Okay. We don't need to file and serve it. Remember now, the serving of the writ is sufficient for original process, but we do need to send it to somebody. So we're going to have several hours. We're going to talk to the client for the specifics of a complaint. So we're going to need 3 for a consultation, and probably going to need 2 for miscellaneous and 2 for correspondence. Now our buckaroo is going to file what? Preliminary objections. So when the buckaroo files preliminary objections, if you're doing what I'm suggesting to do, you should file a factual answer for that. So that should be another 2 billable hours. Let's suppose we're going to amend the complaint. That won't take that much time because we're not going to do all that much reworking. But let's say 2 billable hours for the amended complaint. Filing and serving again is another 3. And the buckaroo is going to file new POs to the amended complaint. So we got another 6. And eventually a brief, which is going to be 4. And an argument, which is going to be about 3. Just very conservative. How many new hours?
Looks like you got 31 new hours.
Times 275. 8,525. Now it's starting to get very serious, right? And now let's suppose you say, this lady didn't count on that. Okay, then do it free. Did you count on that? So I'm saying now, we've had this come up before. We've actually converted files to contingent fee files after we got past POs to try and help them out. We've actually said that our profit margin is 30%. We've reduced the hourly rate. We'll help people, but we want to show them what this journey is going to cost. And we're not going to charge for everything, but we got to get paid something to stay in the game. But the most important part is you and the client need to know where this could be going. I've done things where I said, I don't know how many times we amend the complaint and they file POs. I won't bill you for any of that time, but eventually I will bill you for the brief. I will bill you for the argument or whatever. What is that? That's a fair accommodation. It's a meeting of the minds. And more importantly, you know yourself that you agreed to do that. I would feel real bad about filing a writ from somebody and charging them, $3,000 and then saying, that's all you paid for and you're going to pay the rest or we're done. I would definitely, and I don't think Rule 1.2 says you should do that. So you might want to give them some serious discussion, although I'm keeping the task list very low. That's good news, ma'am, because your cash outlay is very low. But the lower the task list, the more likely and the sooner we're going to need paid again. And so what happens is the task list is completed, the billable time is outlined, they show up for the appointment, and the time is ready to go, and they pay you. They normally do. And you're paid fairly. Now, all the more reason why you would want to file what? That rule we talked about. Get those people into court, because guess what? These big law offices will knock the crap out of you doing this stuff, or knock the crap out of your client, or both of you. And all it is just like a ping pong game, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it's not something that, okay? I think I made my point. Have an agreement, but don't agree to anything unless you thought it through too. It goes back to that major problem with Benny Hill. If you're not doing Benny Hill and you have real conferences with your client, this won't come up because you will have thought it through. And I can tell you right now, most of your competitors don't do that. They don't. the big law firms, I'm not bashing big law firms. Some of you work for big law firms. But I know big law firms sometimes actually have these associates that basically just look at the book and say, I'm supposed to file POs. And I file POs. Did I see anything of any? Yeah, I filed a PO. They amended a complaint. Oh, I see new POs. I file new POs. Okay? New brief, they just go to work and just do it. You know, and if you follow all the procedures in the system, that's a pretty expensive journey for you to try to get your clients some justice. Okay, now there's a couple loose ends I want to touch base with. Do you guys get the idea that you should be committed to creating a task list, whether you use this software or something else? Please tell me you got that, or else quit. Don't do this job, because you're going to be overworked, or your client is going to be overcharged. One of you, mostly you, are not going to be happy. You can't do this job. Go ahead, yes.
Did I miss where, you keep talking about like how we're supposed to get the software, did I miss where
Oh, eplanquotrack.com.
hang on.
Now, I can tell you right now, all my technicians tell me it'll come down and it'll be fine. If you have any problems at all, I'm going to give you my card, okay?
All right, great.
And anybody who wants my contact information, I'm Angelo Papa, ESQ@gmail. That's not hard to remember. I own it. I made it. I created it. I paid thousands of dollars to have somebody turn this into a piece of software. All of the categories are modifiable. Where it said Signature Hill on top, that would be your name. I'm just giving this away. We don't make money in CLEs. We just try to help people.
And what was that address again?
Angelo Papa. I'm sorry. I took it off the screen, didn't I? I'm sorry. eplanquotrack.com. And I never told you why I chose the name. That was what the whole deal was. Get on the ball, Angelo.
The other bar, slightly.
The other one. Thanks, Bruce. Oh, whoever said it. Okay. It's editable, right? Remember, put it on a flat screen. Put the flat screen facing your client, and you have the computer. Mold the plan together. Okay, Mrs. Swanson, I'm going to do the appearance in Summit County for free. Just put a 0 in there. Or I'm going to change my hourly rate to $125 instead of $275. That's all. You can do all those things, but have an agreement, okay? So it's editable. It's a plan of action. I'm telling you, none of your competitors is giving them an action plan. This is what we're going to do. This is, okay, let's look a little further here. And more importantly, this is when we're going to do it. Okay? Remember I told you the lady who hired me the first time I was out, and I ate up the retainer in 3 days because I was afraid she'd change her mind? She loved it. She didn't care how much I charged. She wanted somebody to do it. Okay? So this is when I'm going to do it. And it's a quotation, and it's a contract. Very simple. Offer, acceptance, agree. Offer, acceptance, agree. Offer, acceptance, agree. I just made you $3,000 tomorrow. Ethically. Good business. Didn't cheat anybody. Because guess what? If Mrs. Swanson doesn't file the writ, what do we know? We know she loses. We don't know she wins, but we know she loses. Say, listen, Mrs. Swanson, I don't know if you're throwing another $3,500 down the drain or maybe another $7,000, but I know how it turns out if we do nothing. So it's up to you, Mrs. Swanson, how passionately you're about this. I'm a passionate guy. You're going to get it all, but I need to be paid. So you might not want to be paying for passion. I'm not some idiot, and I'm not somebody who's going to just work for free. Because guess what? If Mrs. Swanson doesn't pay you, my experience in 30 years, Mrs. Swanson is going to see that the bill is racking up and it's getting bigger. And as it gets bigger, Mrs. Swanson starts finding things she doesn't like about you. And you're not too happy with her either, by the way. It's hard to work for somebody who's free, keeping you from getting paid. There's a little bit of friction there. She calls you 50,000 times, right? She calls you without appointments. So now she starts bad-mouthing you because she knows she's pulling out, because she'll hire another attorney who will finish it for $2,000, and she got $8,000 worth of work for free. And you're going to be, now she has to badmouth you because she doesn't want you to badmouth her. She might even go so far as find something she could send to the disciplinary board, and now you're going to prison or lose your job or something like that. Or she's worse. This is a new one now, by the way, in my practice. Facebook, social media, rate your attorney. Oh man, my son goes crazy. He's from that generation. He said, Dad, they took a star away from us. Okay? Those stars go up and they go. We now have a thing where we actually make sure, and now I know why these people make these surveys. We ask them to fill out a survey. Was your experience good here? Please say it online. We appreciate it. I'm telling you, they knock the crap out of you with impunity, and any other IM that you can think of on Facebook. And man, I'll destroy your practice. Doesn't make your family too happy either. Saw your name on Facebook again, something like that. Okay? Has anybody in here ever had some smart aleck from the other side send you a letter saying what you filed is frivolous and you better get rid of it or I'm suing you and your client? Thank you, because I've had those too. Now, whenever you get a letter like that, don't tee off on them and just show them how nasty you can be. Always remember, and Mr. Lindsay says this when he teaches classes with me, someday a judge will probably be reading that letter. So I kill him with kindness. First thing I say is, wow, thank you so much. I didn't even contemplate that. As you all know, I have ethical obligations to zealously rep my client. But I also have an ethical obligation to the system, and I am taking very seriously what you just said. I am going to send it through our staff and maybe even send out for a second opinion to talk about this issue. And pending that, I'll get back to you. There's nobody in the world that's going to sanction you, I believe, without you doing that. Now, you can't just say it and be lying. You should do those things. And you should send it out and get a second opinion on it. Okay? But let's talk about what is frivolous. 3.1 is your rule on meritorious claims. Check the verbs out in this first sentence. A lawyer shall not bring, okay, or defend. Wow. A proceeding or assert or controvert an issue therein unless there is a basis in law and fact for doing so. That's it, just about anything. Okay? So, but your friends are found in the comments sometimes. The following of action or defense or of a similar action taken for a client is not frivolous, merely because the facts have not first been fully substantiated, or because the lawyer expects to develop vital evidence only by discovery. And again, they give and take. Such action is not frivolous, even though the lawyer believes that the client's position ultimately will not prevail. Can you believe that? You might know, or in your head, think that your client's going to lose. It's not frivolous. Okay? The action is frivolous, like a tennis ball, right? Action is frivolous, however, if the client desires to have the action taken primarily for the purpose of harassing or maliciously injuring a person, or if the lawyer is unable to make a good faith argument. I'm going to skip that part. This is where you get mean people out of your waiting room. Mean people are going to kill you on the bill. Mean people are just mean people. You know them. You know them when they're in there. If they want you to be a mean junkyard dog to the other attorney and the client, they're going to be a mean junkyard to you when the honeymoon is over. So no business is better than bad business. We don't have to represent mean people. We can do a very aggressive job. We can disagree with our opponent and the court even without being disagreeable. People pay you to be mean. Say, go down the street. There's a guy with a picture of gigantic picture of handcuffs in the book there, and he says, "I'll fight for you," or something like that. Whatever I do. I'm not a fighter. I'm a lawyer. Okay. So, anyway, now one more important point though. Remember, it says it's not frivolous if you think it'll be developed in discovery. I argue with my son all the time, who's much smarter than me. I say, Christopher, please make every averment in a pleading begin with these couple words. Plaintiff believes and therefore avers. that means I believe that through discovery or some reasonable thought that before, when it's all said and done, I'm going to be able to prove that. That takes it all the way immediately out of being frivolous. You know what I'm seeing? So many lawyers now don't do things that used to be done, and I don't know why. They just got used to doing it a different way. Maybe forms are taking over, but believes and therefore avers, I think, is our magic language. And I could see you nodding, and you say, I know you're very experienced. Do you agree with me? Believes and therefore avers is in every pleading. Believes and therefore avers. It means I believe this and I aver, meaning I infer all kind of stuff from that. That's going to take you, and you can survive summary judgment for that. You can survive a preliminary objection because what? They're supposed to resolve any inference in your favor for summary judgment, judgment on the pleadings. Leave out believe and therefore avers, and I think you're already exposing yourself to a headache. So I believe that John ran the red light. I believe John ran the red light because he had 52 beers 10 minutes before. I might never be able to prove that, but I believe it and I have a right to claim it. Okay? Now, of course, there's extremes to everything. So, all right, let me see here. Okay. Believes and therefore avers, frivolous, the big issues. The book has lots of other stuff in here. Any questions from anybody? Because I think we've reached our time. And I know it's hard, Sunday morning. Nobody wants to be here. Hopefully, we'll go all the way back to the beginning. I'm hoping you learned something, or at least learned I don't know something. And maybe I should know something about that. You've been very, very patient. I know CLE is very tough on you, especially a Sunday morning, and you're here because you're at the end of the deadline. And now next class is better, by the way. I think you'll like next class better, especially with the helpers I have. And we'll move that one along too, by the way, in case the new people, if they don't disagree, we're going to be out early for that too. So I'm going to be banging it out at 12:30, and we'll chip that time off the back, and some of you still have time to make Mass, maybe, depending on your church. Okay. Thank you.